Alright, settle in, grab a cup of something comforting, and let me tell you about the time my life decided to impersonate a poorly programmed video game boss. All unexpected attacks and impossible levels. It's a story about hitting rock bottom, finding out rock bottom had a basement, and then realizing that basement had a hidden escape hatch labeled resilience. Fair warning, there might be slight embellishments for comedic effect, but the core lessons? Those are straight from the school of hard knocks, informed by some genuinely smart people talking about bouncing back. My story begins not with a virtual world crumbling, but with a physical one. Specifically, the load-bearing wall I was convinced needed opening up to achieve feng shui synergy. I had watched exactly 3 YouTube tutorials, owned a hammer and a can-do attitude, and what could possibly go wrong? Well, everything. Everything could and did go wrong. Let's just say structural integrity is less of a suggestion and more of a fundamental law of physics. The thud wasn't just a beam settling, it was the sound of my self-confidence, my savings account, and my previously pristine relationship with my downstairs neighbor collapsing simultaneously. My little feng shui synergy project turned my living room into something resembling a very sad modern art installation, all jagged edges, dust, and the faint smell of impending structural collapse. Suddenly, I wasn't just dealing with a renovation disaster, I was dealing with debt I couldn't afford, a living situation that required hard hats indoors, and a level of personal embarrassment so potent I considered changing my name and moving to international waters. I felt utterly, completely stuck. Every morning felt like navigating a minefield of bad decisions and crumbling plaster. This wasn't just a setback. It felt like my personal and professional lives had simultaneously decided to take a long vacation to Disasterville. Population me. This is where the concept of resilience walked in, kicked off its shoes, and basically started rearranging my mental furniture. At the time, I didn't know it had a fancy name. All I knew was that staying curled up in the dust pile wasn't fixing anything. According to the experts, and my subsequent frantic Googling, resilience is essentially the ability to adapt and bounce back from adversity. It's not some innate superpower only granted to a chosen few. It's a skill, like parallel parking or making decent scrambled eggs. You might be terrible at it initially, but you can learn. The crucial part I learned is that resilience isn't about avoiding hardship, which, let's be honest, my wall project made impossible anyway. It's about embracing adversity as an opportunity for growth. Embracing hardship as an opportunity? My brain initially translated that as your house is falling down. Great chance to practice catching falling debris. It sounded utterly bonkers, but the idea lingered. Maybe this spectacular failure wasn't the end, but just a really, really aggressive beginning. Feeling stuck is exhausting. It's like wading through waist-deep mud. My initial strategies involved copious amounts of cheap instant noodles and pretending I didn't hear my neighbor knocking, repeatedly. This, surprisingly, did not help. The sources are clear. Overcoming obstacles and building resilience requires practical strategies and a powerful mindset shift. Okay, mindset shift. How exactly do you shift a mindset that's currently screaming, "You are a failure, and you should probably just live in the park"? This is where the real work, and frankly, some awkward self-help experiments came in. First up, mindset and positive self-talk. My internal monologue was a harsh critic, a tiny, relentless voice pointing out every flaw, every mistake, every dangling wire. The sources talk about the power of mindset, positive self-talk, and reframing challenges. Reframing? How do you reframe a giant hole in your wall? It's not a structural failure, it's a spontaneous architectural feature. It felt ridiculous. But I started small. Instead of "I'm an idiot who ruined my house," I tried, "Okay, that went wrong. What can I learn from this?" Instead of "This is impossible," I forced myself to think, "This is incredibly difficult, but what's the very next smallest step?" It felt fake at first, like wearing ill-fitting clothes. The internal critic didn't vanish, it just sounded slightly muffled, like it was yelling from the bottom of a well filled with my own self-doubt. But consistently pushing back, even awkwardly, started to shift the balance. I wasn't fixing the past, but I was slowly taking control of how I reacted to the present. Next was the excruciating but vital step support systems. Oh, the shame. Admitting to friends and family that I'd accidentally semi-demolished my house and was now drowning in the consequences? It felt like admitting I still believed in the tooth fairy. The sources highlight the importance of support systems. Swallowing my pride and calling a trusted friend was one of the hardest things I did. Explaining the spontaneous architectural feature incident through tears was not my finest moment. But their reactions weren't judgment, mostly. They were concern, offers of help, and surprisingly, stories of their own equally spectacular screw-ups. Knowing I wasn't alone, that other people had faced their own versions of Wallgate and survived, was a lifeline. I also realized I needed professional help, not just a contractor for the wall, desperately needed, but someone to help me navigate the sheer stress and anxiety. Therapy felt intimidating, but seeking that support system, even a professional one, was crucial. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign you're smart enough to know when you're out of your depth and need backup. Think of it as calling in air support when your ground troops are getting hammered. Then came building healthy coping mechanisms. My default mechanism was retreating and wallowing. Effective for breeding dust bunnies, not so effective for rebuilding a life, or a wall. The sources discuss building healthy coping mechanisms. This was trial and error. Drinking more? Didn't help. Binge-watching reality TV until my eyes blurred? Provided temporary escape, but the wall was still there when the credits rolled. I had to actively find things that helped me process stress and feel a sense of agency. I started walking long, aimless walks where I just processed everything without the pressure to do anything about it immediately. I rediscovered drawing, something I hadn't done in years. Focusing on lines and shapes was a quiet rebellion against the chaos. I even tried a bizarre laughter yoga class. Forcing yourself to laugh when you feel like crying is surprisingly cathartic and also slightly humiliating, which adds to the humor later. These weren't grand solutions, but they were healthy ways to manage the stress and emotional fallout, giving my brain a break and helping me feel less overwhelmed. Slowly, painstakingly, things started to shift. This wasn't just about fixing a wall, it was about fixing my internal response to disaster. This is where the transformative power of resilience kicks in. Overcoming the initial paralysis and starting to implement these strategies led to personal and, yes, eventually, professional growth. By forcing myself to communicate, even awkwardly, with friends and professionals, my communication skills improved. By breaking down the enormous problem, ruined house, debt, shame, into tiny, manageable steps, call neighbor, get quotes, apply for a small loan, clean up one dusty corner, I learned practical problem solving on a scale I'd never imagined. This process started to unlock potential I didn't know I had. I had to learn about contractors, insurance, budgeting under pressure skills far beyond my initial can-do hammer approach. More importantly, facing that level of failure and not completely crumbling built confidence. If I could navigate this mess, what else could I handle? My sense of self, which had been shattered like drywall, began to rebuild, layer by layer, gaining a stronger sense of self. I wasn't just the idiot who broke her house. I was the person who faced that disaster and started figuring it out. There was also a ripple effect on relationships. My neighbors, initially furious, saw me taking responsibility and working to fix it, with professionals, thankfully. We moved from frosty silence to tentative waves, then eventually, awkward conversations about trash pickup schedules, and finally, actual neighborly interactions. My friendships deepened because I had allowed myself to be vulnerable and accept help. Even my professional life benefited. The forced practice in calm communication under pressure surprisingly helped me navigate difficult meetings at work. So where am I now? The wall is fixed. It's load-bearing again, thank goodness. My neighbor occasionally waves with all 5 fingers. My living room is no longer a dust disaster zone. More importantly, I've learned that getting knocked down isn't the problem. It's staying down. Embracing resilience isn't a one-time fix. It's a valuable life skill you keep developing. My story started with a physical structure crumbling, much like how for someone else, a virtual world might crumble or a career might tank. The feeling of being lost and adrift is universal when your foundations are shaken. But the process of rebuilding, brick by painful, awkward brick, is what matters. So, What are the actionable steps you can take to develop your own resilience? Based on my accidental education and the wisdom from the sources, here's the slightly less awkward than mine version. Acknowledge the mess without dwelling on it. When things go wrong, don't pretend they didn't. Face the reality, but don't let the negative feelings consume you. Accept the situation as it is, then ask, okay, now what? Challenge your inner critic. Pay attention to your self-talk. Is it kind? Is it helpful? If it's not, practice reframing negative thoughts. It feels weird initially, like, this is bad, but what's one tiny thing I can do? Keep practicing. It gets easier. Find your people. Identify your support system. Friends, family, colleagues, or even a therapist or support group. Don't isolate yourself. Reaching out for help is a sign of strength. Build your coping toolbox. Figure out healthy ways to manage stress that work for you. Exercise, hobbies, mindfulness, creative outlets, spending time in nature. Experiment and find what brings you a sense of peace or purpose when things are tough. Break it down. Big problems feel insurmountable. Break them into the smallest possible steps. Focus only on the very next step, not the mountain ahead. Learn from failure. Every setback, no matter how embarrassing, like my wall, is a lesson. What went wrong? What could you do differently next time? This perspective turns obstacles into opportunities for growth. Celebrate small wins. Rebuilding is a long process. Acknowledge and celebrate every tiny step forward, whether it's fixing a small part of the problem, managing your stress for a day, or just getting out of bed when you didn't want to. My journey from accidental demolition expert to moderately resilient human wasn't smooth. There were setbacks, moments of doubt, and times I genuinely considered just wallpapering over the structural issues. But by slowly applying these principles, by focusing on the mindset, building support, finding healthy ways to cope, and accepting that growth comes from facing the mess, I didn't just fix a wall. I rebuilt my ability to handle whatever chaos life throws at me. Ultimately, the message is one of hope and inspiration. You have more strength within you than you realize to overcome challenges and achieve your goals, even if those goals start as simply not having my house fall down. Resilience isn't about being fearless. It's about being afraid, doing it anyway, and learning to bounce back, maybe with a few funny stories to tell later. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more and to help our channel grow. Also, don't forget to keep watching for the deep dive where we delve into this story. Thank you.
Welcome to the deep dive. You're here because, well, you want to get straight to the point, right? Quick insights, no wasted time.
Exactly.
Today, we're tackling something vital, especially now. Mastering resilience in 2025. We're using the source Mastering Resilience in 2025 as our guide. And our mission, simple. We want to pull out the key stuff, the actionable insights, so you can handle setbacks and maybe even grow from them.
That's the core idea. Resilience isn't some, magical trait you're born with. It's really about how you adapt, how you bounce back when things go wrong.
So not about being bulletproof.
No, not at all. Think more flexible, like bamboo. It bends, but it doesn't break easily, and it springs back. The source makes a strong point that challenges, they aren't just obstacles. Often they're the actual path to, well, significant growth.
Okay, that's an interesting way to put it. So building this flexibility, what does that actually involve, like practically speaking?
Well, a huge piece is your mindset, your internal dialogue. The source really hammers this home. Think about it. Something goes wrong. Say you miss out on a promotion you wanted. What's that first thought? Is it, oh, I failed, I'm not good enough?
Yeah, that's often the default, isn't it?
Right. But a resilient approach, according to the source, involves reframing. Asking yourself, okay, what can I learn here? What skills do I need to build for next time? That little shift, that reframing, it's fundamental.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Changing the story you tell yourself about the difficult stuff. The source also mentions support systems, right? How do they fit in?
Ah, yes. Hugely important. Our connections, our relationships, they're like anchors in a storm. The source emphasizes that leaning on people you trust, whether it's for, advice or just someone to listen, it really cushions the blow of adversity.
So it's okay to lean on others. It's part of being resilient.
Absolutely. It's not about facing everything alone. And interestingly, the source suggests that actively nurturing these relationships, even when things are good, that actually strengthens your overall resilience. It builds up that muscle, so to speak.
Got it. So it's proactive, not just reactive, something you build over time. Now, this idea that resilience leads to growth, that's powerful. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, definitely. The source argues that when you push through adversity, you often have to develop new skills, right? You find strengths you didn't even know you had.
Like discovering hidden talents.
Sort of, yeah. Or just a deeper understanding of what you're capable of. It's like exercise, you stress a muscle in a controlled way and it gets stronger. Navigating challenges and coming out the other side builds up that resilience. It genuinely unlocks potential and builds real self-belief.
It's like the challenges are the test ground that proves what you can actually do. And the source suggests this isn't just an individual thing. It has wider effects.
Precisely. Resilient people often make teams, families, even communities more resilient. Their ability to cope and bounce back can, provide stability and hope for others around them. Which brings us back to you, the listener. How are you consciously building this resilient mindset? How are you tending to those support networks in your own life?
That really is the crucial question. Because the source isn't just theory, is it? It's about real changes in thinking and how we engage with difficulties. It feels quite empowering, actually, knowing it's a skill you can work on.
Exactly right. It's not fixed. So wrapping up the core idea from Mastering Resilience in 2025, resilience is fundamentally about adapting, learning, and yes, growing through life's inevitable challenges.
It's about your mindset.
Your mindset, your connections, and seeing setbacks not as dead ends, but as genuine chances to become stronger.
Okay, so here's a final thought for you to take away. Think about a recent challenge, something tricky you dealt with. Can you pinpoint moments where you adapted, where maybe your thinking shifted, even slightly, or where someone helped you through? Just recognizing those resilience elements already active in your life,
yeah,
that's the starting point for consciously building even more of it for whatever comes next.